I think one of the reasons that the British people look over the Atlantic and they cannot understand why even Donald Trump is in half of contention for this election is because I think they underestimate how much legitimately the American people don't like Hillary Clinton. And 66% of Americans think their country's going in the wrong direction. 47% of Americans would have to borrow or reach out to a family member just to get $400 in the case of emergency. You've had the Wall Street crash in the last 10, 15 years, you've had the Iraq War, you've had the failure of Obamacare. Americans want change. And one thing Hillary Clinton isn't is change. She's been there at the center of Washington for so long, and she will be as steady as she goes president. Now, many people in the world might welcome that. We've got a lot going on in the world, and more instability probably won't be welcome. But for the American people, Hillary Clinton's lack of ambition, she's proposed very little in the way of interesting policy during this campaign. She'd relied completely on Donald Trump's beatability. She'll be a safe, solid president, I think, but probably not a very interesting one.
What impact would a Clinton win have on markets, and what currencies and countries stand to gain or are looking forward to hopefully Clinton taking the top seat? I think the impact is business as usual. I think there's a relief rally, only marginal if you look at risk at the moment. Stock markets are performing very well, so are most currencies, and I think there's a continuation of that theme, albeit slightly accelerated in the immediate aftermath. Mexico obviously stands to gain, or certainly not to lose the most, which will be a sigh of relief for them, and we'll see an further unwinding of the Mexican peso dollar cross. And I think that's probably about it. I think the rest of the time the market hopefully will just go about its normal sort of year-end procedures, start a bit of window dressing and then wind down as we get into December. What's the immediate impact we can foresee from a Trump victory? I think there will be a knee-jerk reaction in the markets, and quite ironically that could almost be a big move into the dollar. And we say that because of a flight to safety. You would want to be in the most liquid asset, and the market's possibly not positioning itself for significant dollar strength in the wake of a Trump victory. So if we do see a move into and the herd mentality picks up, then there could be a big shift in the value of the dollar upwards, and that would play havoc with emerging market currencies and also just risk sentiment globally.
Well, there is talk that because of the continuing descent of Donald Trump, and we're recording this interview ahead of the third debate, we don't know whether he will manage to turn things round to some extent in that, or more likely exacerbate his position. But given the decline in his opinion poll rating, even the possibility that was discounted until quite recently that the Democrats could win the House. Now, if the Democrats win the House, they will almost certainly win the Senate as well. And so Hillary Clinton would potentially be able to run Washington for 3 years on her own. And so the gridlock would be over. I think it's still unlikely that the Republicans will lose the House. And so you'll have the usual situation in Washington where power is divided. And one of the people who might not be unhappy at that is Hillary Clinton. I think she's quite a centrist Democrat, and I think she knows that her party, particularly Nancy Pelosi, who would be Speaker of the House if the Democrats won, these are quite left-wing people, and she'd have no excuses but to deliver quite a Bernie Sanders economic agenda. So she might be quite grateful to have the Republicans as an excuse not to do wacky socialist feel the burn things.
I'm not a betting man at all, but I would still say that the maths is very much against Trump. But at the moment, he doesn't seem to be able to find anything to stop him, and he's come this far. So I don't want to say Trump, but I think there is a real possibility that it could be, but it will be an incredibly narrow margin. And I don't even think it will be swing states that make it up. It'll be protest votes in some of the more major Clinton states.
in a political time when Jeremy Corbyn becomes Labour leader and Brexit happens and Theresa May arises from almost nowhere to be Prime Minister very quickly, anything can yet happen in this US election. But I'd be very surprised now if the opinion polls, which are giving Hillary Clinton an average 7% lead now, were wrong. It's true that there are shy Trump voters out there that perhaps aren't being captured in the opinion poll, which suggests that he might be doing better. But I think it's also the case that the Democrats, Hillary Clinton's party, have a much better ground operation. They've got real infrastructure in place in all of the key states. So I think that will probably negate any advantage that he has from that shy Trump factor. There's still a few weeks, of course, and we might have a big surprise from the WikiLeaks or something, but I think and I hope Trump is toast.